Problem 2, parts A through F. This is in your book labeled Exercise 121. And in that they give us a bunch of information just like they did before. And they ask us a couple of questions and they give us some information. First they give us some information. They tell us that at the beginning of the year the company had on hand cash of $800. They had land of $3,500. They had notes payable of $600, and they had common stock of $1,000. Now I'm going to highlight those in yellow just so we remember that that information was given to us, and we won't be tempted to go back and change that for any reason. And then it says, well, what's the retained earnings? Well, we know that this and this is $4,300, and we know that equals 600 plus 1,000 plus X. Little bit of algebra here. Go back to your 6th grade algebra. You probably haven't used it since then. Most people haven't. And remember that if you want to find out the value of something, you get it by itself. So we'll do that. We'll take the 43 minus the 6 minus the 1,000, and that will equal the X. And when you do that math, you come up with 2,700 for retained earnings. Just the basic algebra you did 4th, 5th, 6th grade, something like that. Okay, you just don't remember it. You haven't used it in 10 years or so. Okay, the next question it says is, can the company pay a dividend? My question to you is, what would they pay it with? Can they pay a $1,000 dividend? No. They only have $800 in cash. So you can't put a dividend on your MasterCard. So no, you can't pay a dividend. That would be silly, because you would have to borrow money, making your liabilities go up, so you could give money back to your shareholders, which is not earnings, but it's supposed to be. It just wouldn't work. One of the first rules of business is for a company to pay a dividend, they have to have cash. And retained earnings is not cash. It could be cash, it could be some cash, but it's basically just a list of the amount of ownership that the shareholders have. It does not represent cash. The next thing it says is, what percentage of our assets are provided for us by loans? Well, our total assets are $4,300. Our total loans are $600. So divide 600 by 4,300 and you come up with 13.9% is the amount of our assets provided by our creditors. Then it asks us to come up with how much of our assets are provided by investors. So again, we still have $4,300 worth of stuff, and our investors, our stockholders, have put in 1,000. So 1,000 divided by 4,300 is 23.3%. It's actually 23.2%. 29552 something or other. 23.3 is close enough for government work. And the total assets provided by retained earnings, we're going to do the same thing. We have $2,700, what we determined the retained earnings to be. Divide that by the 4,300, and that will give us 62.8%. So that's parts A, B, C, D, and E. Part F simply says restate the accounting equation with the right side of the equation as percentages instead of as dollars. Well, we can do that. We have cash of $800 and land of $3,500. That hasn't changed. And we'll just bring these numbers over that we just computed. 13.9 is the amount of assets provided by creditors. And the whole point of this is to get you to see that a company has a lot more stuff than it owns. And in this case, almost 40% is provided by creditors and investors, and the rest is provided by the company's earnings. And it's just to make you focus on retained earnings, realize it's the residual ownership of the company, and it is not cash. You can't take retained earnings over to the draft horse and buy a Natty Light. It's not cash. So assets provided by investors, that's common stock, 23.3%. And the amount of that's produced by retained earnings, 62.8%. Again, the whole purpose of this is to focus you on retained earnings, making sure you realize that retained earnings are just the owner's claims on the assets of the business and not a collection of cash or any other asset.